Hello there, lovely people, it's Alex from Nintendo Life here, and today I'm going to be talking about something that's very close to my heart. I'm going to be talking about, of course, Splatoon. More namely, Splatoon 2, which I'm guessing you guessed from the title. Yes, I've been asked numerous times by lots of people, what are the really big differences between Splatoon and Splatoon 2? Now, I can't talk too much about it because I've only played the multiplayer. I can't talk about the single player or any sort of story that may be in effect. It looks like there is going to be, with the whole picture of Mari and everything like that, but honestly, I don't know. But as far as the multiplayer goes, I can very, very, very affirmatively say to you that yes, this is indeed a full sequel. This isn't some sort of, 1.5 port or anything like that, and people often, are even saying that it looks exactly the same. Now, I can be very clear with you now, it does not look exactly the same. You just have to look in the right places. So first of all, I'm going to talk very briefly about the graphics, because the graphics, whilst they aren't really that big of a deal, they are really, really pretty in Splatoon 2, and you may not fully realise, especially considering basically every video that's uploaded online is on YouTube, and as such really does not do the game justice, because, it just crushes, bit crushes, and it just makes it look awful. Really the most obvious thing is if you look at, say, this screenshot here, and then this screenshot, you may notice some subtle differences, but then let me put them side by side and you can see that, well, look at the trees for a start. They're really glossy and beautiful, and they've got real movement in them when you look at them, when it's not a screenshot, but, just believe me. And just look at the original Splatoon's leaves, they're so much flatter. The textures are nowhere near as detailed, they're not glossy, they don't react to light, they don't have any bump mapping or anything like that. It really is apples and oranges. I mean, it's still fruit because they're both still trees, but they are very different fruit. Trees. Another really big thing is the lighting. If you look at the lighting from Splatoon 2, you can see all this lovely sort of bloom effect, and you can see the dynamic shadows, and everything looks very sort of real and vivid. And then you look at the original Splatoon, and it really does look quite flat in comparison. It still looks good, especially for the Wii U, but it really does show just what the Switch is capable of. And the last thing I want to talk about when it comes to graphics, because I don't want to dwell on it too much, because I've said time and time again that they really are fairly superficial, and 9 times out of 10 that is indeed the case. But if you look at just when the Inklings are spawning, you can see the sort of the splatter of ink as they shake it off, and just look at the difference. I'm just going to stop now and just show you the difference side by side in slow motion and in normal motion of the Inklings shaking off the ink, and you look at the different fidelity when it comes to the ink splashes. But improved graphics does not a sequel make. So what more is there? What other meat is there to really sink our teeth into and to really understand that this is really a proper sequel to Splatoon? Well, first of all, as far as we know, all of the previous special moves have been completely eradicated in favor of new, shinier, maybe tastier, different things that have different effects. Some of them are kind of similar to the previous ones, but they are quite different at the same time. I'm just babbling. Now, the real standout one for me is the Inkjet. Now, I really like the Inkjet. I managed to get a use of it twice, in fact, because I managed to play Splatoon 2 times because I'm so good, and it came with the Splat Dualies in the demo that I played. And it really genuinely highlights just how differently they're thinking and how, what other ideas they have to really push out and really make Splatoon 2 a proper sequel and not just a Splatoon 1.5. The basic idea is that you activate your special, and then all of a sudden you're lifted off the ground and you can shoot people from the top. And you might think, but that's stupid. Why would you make yourself a target where you can be very easily shot at? Well, just bear with me, because I'm about to tell you why it's so good. You remember in the first Splatoon when there were those walls that you could scale up, but then you'd be stopped by a guttering or something like that, some sort of bumper that stops you from getting, say, in the enemy spawn? Well, this thing completely eradicates them. You can just go straight over and go right into their enemy base and just go pow, 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 pow. And you got this sort of blaster thing that behaves very much like I suppose like a custom blaster or maybe a range blaster. And so it basically just fires out a single shot, a big blob of ink, and if it hits someone directly, it does a lot of damage. I don't know whether it explodes after a certain range like a blaster, because I didn't check. Now, just in case you're thinking that this sounds completely overpowered, do not worry, because you will not be able to stay in that area, and indeed anybody using it will not stay in that area. They don't just it doesn't just, you know, run out of ink and they drop down. It explodes and they are forced back to their starting position, by which I don't mean their spawn, but where they first used the special ability, and I think that's a really, really sensible way of doing it. It gives you that advantage of being able to get in there and spawn, kill, or go over obstacles that you wouldn't be able to otherwise, or maybe, you know, sort of hover over water, and you're not having to constantly worry about, you know, if an enemy's using it, oh, you know, they're going to be stuck in my base and I can't get rid of them, blah, 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 blah. You don't have to worry about any of that, and likewise, if you're the one using it and you're hovering over water or a chasm, you don't have to worry. You can just, you know, you can just think, oh, it's fine. I don't have to think about staying overground. You can just concentrate on trying to kill as many devilish little inklings as you can. Because once it's done, you just go pop, and you just go wee back to where you started. Only thing is, you've got to bear in mind, it does show a marker when someone's used it, saying where they're going to be, and I believe, I don't know for absolutely certain, but I believe the enemy can see that as well, so do bear that in mind, because, call blimey governor, that would be embarrassing. There have also been a lot more sort of subtle changes here and there to try and make things a little bit more balanced. I mean, with the splat dualies and things like that, you know, you got the splat dualies, and they're kind of wide, and I've seen somebody, I think it was one of my friends actually, said, what about if they had, you know, like individual Joy-Cons so you could spray any direction you want? And it's like, no, that's way too overpowered. But then you've got the classic weapons as well, things like the Splat Charger. That has had a really interesting buff. You go into the ink, and if you've charged, you can hold that charge for a few seconds. It doesn't last a huge amount of time, but it lasts long enough so that if somebody else is firing at you, or you just need to sort of duck out of the way, or you need to remain hidden for stealth reasons or something like that, you can charge up, hide, and then quickly jump out and pop a cannon in their ass. That doesn't make... I was thinking pop a cap and can of whoop ass, and it sort of mixed up. But there's something else that really makes it feel like a sequel, and it's something I can't really put my finger on, to be honest. There's just something about the feel of it. I think the overall presentation, the feel of the console being new and everything, it really does help it to make it feel like a really new game. Also, when it comes to shooters, what is a sequel? I mean, look at Call of Duty. They've been pumping out the same rubbish every year for God knows how long, and everybody seems to think that they're sequels. Splatoon 2 has really built on what the original made, and it has basically refined it down and made it the best it can possibly be, and then it built on it a little bit more to get some extra gameplay in there and things like that, and a bit more variety and all these sort of things. It's changed a few things here and there. It's mainly kept things the same when it comes to the absolute fundamentals. You know, you shoot ink, you can swim through the ink, you know, all those sort of basic things are the same, but if you change them, then it probably wouldn't be Splatoon. So if you don't think it's a sequel, knackers to you, because I've played it and I say it is, so there you are. Actually, not knackers to you if you've got an opinion about Splatoon 2. Maybe you agree with me, maybe you think I'm talking complete rubbish and you just want to throw, you know, verbal abuse at me. Make sure you do so down there in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you duck into the ink with a fully charged Splat Charger, pop out and then fire it towards that subscribe button, and be sure to check out NintendoLife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye bye.